the second sphere on the tree of life and represents pure, unbounded creative energy and the first impulse of divine will. It is the dynamic force that initiates creation, embodying the spark of inspiration and the raw potential from which all things emerge. Chokmah is associated with the masculine principle, symbolizing the active, expansive power that drives life and growth. As the counterpart to Bina, understanding, Chokmah provides the seed of ideas and energy that Bina shapes into form. Together they represent the balance of force and form, creativity and structure, which is essential for the process of manifestation. Chokmah is often linked to intuition and flashes of insight that transcend logical thought, offering a direct connection to higher wisdom. This sphere teaches that wisdom comes not from accumulated knowledge, but from direct experience and connection to the divine source. Chokmah is the flow of life itself, reminding us to embrace the creative energy within and channel it toward meaningful growth and understanding.
The Shift Report with the Hood Mystic, where shift happens.
Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. Just need to check one quick thing. That's what I'll be needing to check, Jack. Man, turn that volume up. Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. This is Gnostic Kaballah. I am your host, the Hood Mystic. Before we get into our main topic of discussion, I just want to direct people to my Substack, which is called The White Rabbit. I'm the author of that particular Substack and a general author. I love to write. I love to journal and things of that nature and bring those thoughts and ideas to life. And my platform for doing that as of late have been Substack. But you can also check out my other writings. Just Google Kyrie, Kyree, last name Anthony. I write a plethora of spiritual books, spiritual classes, things of that nature. But with that all being said, um, be sure to check out my Substack, check out my written works, things of that nature. And then also my latest article titled Music as Therapy. Now, on this Substack, I have different topics of things that I talk about because I'm not talking about everything, but I do have specific things that I love to discuss and talk about. One of those being psychedelics. Over this past couple of days, before this past couple of days, I just been feeling like, damn, I need some form of mentor, some type of guidance, some type of direction in my life, just energetically, emotionally, not so much physically and things of that nature, but just mentally, emotionally, spiritually, really seeking out guidance. But I honestly didn't know where to turn. And something just came over me probably like a couple of days ago, like just to relax before I go to sleep, listen to some music, and take a couple of bites of a Mr. Hood bar, chocolate psychedelic bar. And I would just sit back and just relax, listen to the music. And I promise you, it was just giving me the energetic vibration that I needed at that particular time. And for those of you who are looking for guidance, who are looking for mentorship, who are looking for spiritual direction and don't necessarily know where to go, where to find it, I really do hope that A, you read this article, and B, you take a night or two to really get into some old school jams with some live instrumentation, none of that new I don't know what you call this shit now. But anyways, listen to some old school classical type music. I don't mean like Beethoven, maybe like Parliament Funkadelics, the Stylistics, Sly and the Family Stone, Jimi Hendrix, things of that nature, high vibrational, indigenous, ancestral music, and utilize those frequencies in reference to, you know, couple microdose capsules, couple pieces of chocolate, or, you know, a smoothie right before you go to sleep. What you'll notice is that, you know what I'm saying, you'll begin to feel. And the thing about bills, the thing about taking care of children, the thing about responsibilities, none of those things incorporate feeling. It's more of robotic, more of like machine like. When you think about your job, you know, you go to your job and you like, man, I don't feel like being here. That ultimately is a problem. You go to school, you might say, I don't feel like being here. That ultimately is a problem. So when we talk about feeling, we have to establish that, because it's spaces and places that don't allow you to just feel, right? It's a bad thing in a relationship, or, you know, with your parents or with your children, to just be like, you know, I feel like laying down, you know, and your partner might say, "Oh, I want you to do this, 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 and this," or "I expect you to do this, this, and this. Why you ain't?" You know, this person is lazy, meaning that when you are in tune with your feelings, what you feel like doing, and you are guided by your feelings, like, you need to cultivate that, and that's what the music have done for me. Like, I always say, like, I got a radio playing in my head, like I'm always getting tunes, different downloads, and usually whatever tune is being played in my mind, that's the message that I needed to hear. So yesterday it was calming, universal mind control, then electric soul circus, and then last night it was Parliament, and really Maggot Brain from Parliament. And then I just heard that whole CD from beginning to end. And when it was over, I just like got out of my rest and then went to bed. So I'm just saying, giving people some things that they can actually do to help them along their spiritual journey is kind of like my little niche, my little specialty, what I'm really into. And this is what we're going to be talking about today: understanding, I guess, religion via spirituality. Where many people discuss the Kabbalah, they only are reading it from an intellectual point of view. And reading the Kabbalah from an intellectual point of view is the same way as reading a book about sex. As much as you read a book about sex, as much as you like might know every single detail in reference to sex and things of that nature, it's a whole different thing when you begin to experience it. So that's why when I'm laying out different tips, tricks, and suggestions in reference to spiritual growth, spiritual development, it don't mean that it's going to stick with people, right? If 100 people listen to a message, maybe you are the only one that sit back and apply it, right? You're the one that just sit back and say, all right, this is what's being said. Now let me fuck around and find out. And there's nothing wrong with reading books in reference to Kama Sutra and sexual knowledge. Because once you get into the actual nitty gritty, you can utilize those lessons. However, the intellect and the action must fully be expressed in reference to everything spiritual, or it is just one sided. So, in studying Chokmah or Hakmah, however you would like to pronounce it, the difficulty in presenting this is that wisdom has to be paired with understanding. Sperm has to be paired with an ovum. Light has to be paired with darkness. And we may not like this as individuals, but that's just the way it is. So when you talk about specific feelings and emotions to what we desire, that is one sided of a paradigm. Whereas desiring and wanting things isn't bad, but you must know how to get it. And knowing how to get it, having all of the wisdom in the world, like just knowing everything, having unlimited amount of action, that doesn't satisfy an individual. The tech bros or the financial bros, they get so caught up in getting money that the feminine qualities don't get developed, and their ability to relate to other people don't get to develop their social skills, their sixth house, their seventh house. None of these things get developed. And then what happens? A girl sees them, marries them, stays with them for a short amount of time, taking their ass straight to the bank, because 100% of masculine energy is never going to balance. 100% of feminine energy is never going to balance. So the difficulty in expressing and teaching under the realm of Chokmah or wisdom is difficult because it needs to be paired. And I'm going to finish this video and begin studying Banah, but I imagine that the same thing holds true. So that just being a point of reference, whereas we are understanding God in its truest sense, in its most esoteric, occult sense, finding God within ourselves, and it has to be brought forth through mechanics, through actual understanding of structure, or else it's just a bunch of words. And ultimately, what spirituality has become is, a cool school or a place where a lot of rhetoric is being put out there to make you feel better. However, today we're going to talk about the structure of said religion, of said spirituality, and understand that all of these particular systems are in reference to you and you doing the specific calculations and manufacturings of said formula. So, more or less, when it comes to sex and enjoying sex, is possible, but you have to be the one to put yourself out there. So, this is going to be the third part of our Gnostic Kaballah series. The first part is just a basic protocol, basic understanding, not getting too deep into anything, just kind of preparing you, because ultimately the kingdom of heaven is within you. God is found within you. This is great to know and is good to hear. However, there is a low key mechanism to access it and to deal with the particular program. So, part of this is dealing with maturity. So, the one on one hand is like, I just want all of this money so I can just do for me, take care of me because everybody is taking care of them. But on a mature hand, it is saying, I would rather share abundantly, share infinitely, so I can receive infinitely. It's very simple, but when you are in survival mode, when you are in lack of faith, when you are in fear, you are misunderstanding how this thing works. And this is not like far off hoogu jugu mumbo jumbo, because even down to the bare bones manifestation of a human life is utilizing these same principles. Like, to the root of me studying Gnostic Kabbalah, I literally, I'm gonna just say it, but don't like put a lot of effort and emphasis in it. Like, don't clip it or share it. But I literally conceived when I started studying Gnostic Kabbalah after like trying for 2 years. So the birth process between sperm and ovum is Gnostic Kabbalah. Raising Kundalini, accessing God within is reverse Gnostic Kabbalah, or the Gnostic Kabbalah that we don't know, that we don't study. Therefore, it is said Gnostic Kabbalah, the path to self realization. So it's a lot of words, it's a lot of text. So get onto the Substack. To read these articles is $5 a month, right? But ultimately, this one, the path of self realization, is free. Kether, though, to get access to that is going to be $5 a month, because what I'm doing is I'm turning it into a book. It's going to be 11-part series. That's going to be a Gnostic Kabbalah book. So the text is very easy to understand, very, very rational, very logical. But the point of it all is to understand spiritual development in reference to you doing it yourself. So without Gnostic Kabbalah, you have to go to a church, you have to go to a guru, you have to go to a spiritual leader, you have to watch Dolo the fucking Pilot Man or some shit like that, right? Without it. With it, you could just rely on yourself. With it is basically you having the knowledge of God within yourself. And so the last video slash article that I did, or chapter that I did, was on Kether, which is the basis for this particular conversation. So, what do I mean by the basis? Each of the Sephiroths in the Kabbalah are building upon one another. No Sephiroth is individual. So, this goes into numbers, this goes into planets, this goes into letters. So Gnostic Kabbalah is a set of letters that are put together that make a word, and each, the S and the T, build off each other to the I. So understanding like phonetics, understanding mathematics is also understanding relationships. But the point of all relationships is Kether. Kether is thus all consciousness that you experience, not only in this lifetime, but in previous lifetimes and future lifetimes. So, the main goal of Gnostic Kabbalah is to establish a meditative protocol for yourself to access Kether. What is Kether? You, your consciousness that you'll have. Once you exit out this body, Kether will remain. And when you go into another body, this set of files called Kether will exist. So the set of files, your mainframe download to your soul, is within you or above you, which represents your crown, Kether, which is, if you've been following me this year, if you've been um on the course path, you don't gotta even worry about this, because you've already activated Kether through from your root, sacral, solar, heart, throat, pineal, crown chakra. Boom, activates Kether, which is who you truly are. And then what we say about chakras is that the energy rises up, and then we descend the energy down. So Gnostic Kabbalah is basically chakra nova, but we you know when you climb up a hill, right? It's a different protocol than when you fall or running down the hill. So the energy is now descending throughout the chakras, but instead of chakras, it is Sephiroths. But we must understand that none of the Bible, Bhagavad Gita, Time Magazine, uh, Ernest Hemingway. Nothing that you read is outside of synchronicity and it's all leading you back to you. So we're just getting into basics and bases and references to Chokmah and understanding what we are specifically talking about. So Hakmah, Chokmah is a Hebrew word meaning wisdom, often used in Jewish texts and philosophy to denote a deep, insightful understanding that goes beyond mere knowledge. So, in order for you to go beyond mere knowledge, you have to go within yourself. Because within yourself is a point of knowledge that you don't have access to. I said within yourself, there is information that you do not have access to. Therefore, it is very important for you to relax, get into your parasympathetic mode, and just get into a space where you are retrieving said knowledge, i.e., meditation, breath work. Uh, what has been helping me a lot is root locks. Because what is a root lock? A root lock is where your energy is leaking out of your root chakra, and you have to said lock that energy by doing what is called a mula banda or a root lock. So that is allowing me to keep my energy within me, bring it up to the crown chakra, and allow myself to just get into a meditative, relaxed state where solutions are coming to the surface. Now, solutions coming to the surface is what is supposed to happen. The issue with what I'm referencing is that people want everything to happen immediately. So in the example of creating a life, it is a process that takes up to 9 months. So seeing how things are going to play out, and I would even go so far as to say just simply desiring that things are going to work out in your favor is the proper step within understanding Hakma, Chokmah, or wisdom. It is the pre-knowledge that everything is what it's supposed to be. Therefore, Chokmah, it is a central concept in Jewish mysticism, Kaballah, where it represents the second of the 10 Sephiroth, the first being Keter. In Kabbalah, Chokmah is often paired with Bana understanding, and together they form the upper or supernal triad of the tree of life. So, within these conversations, it's very important that you understand that I may be repetitive to a level that this is new information, and the only way that it will sink in, the only way that it will begin to make sense is through the repetition, because I've been studying this stuff for years and it's just now making sense. I'm just now getting it. And this is why if I've heard all of this stuff 10 years ago and it didn't click. It was just words that I was hearing. But through my understanding of the work that I've done for myself with the guys, with the people who have been on the Discord, working through these courses, working through these chakras, doing the proper shadow work, the information is much clearer. So what I'm saying is this thing might not happen overnight. Your spiritual development might not happen overnight. But in reference to Chakma, in reference to wisdom, I've always known that I would figure it out, even if I didn't figure it out. But with this attitude, I would find places and spaces that I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And then I would challenge myself to learn. And what I end up finding out is that I did learn, or I did know that, especially in reference to astrology, where it was like I didn't understand astrology so bad. Now, but when I would talk to people about it, they'd be like, "Oh my God, that's so on point." And that made me really want to study, because how in the hell am I on point? And I don't even know what the hell I'm even talking about. But I'm under the assumption that I was an astrologer in the past life, or studied astrology in past lives, because it has come so natural to me. So the way I learn now has got to be very structured to make sure that I'm not disrupting what I naturally know. So I usually look for certain like guide rails, and then I stay within those guide rails and studying things, because it's very natural. You have natural gifts from past lives that you owe to yourself in this moment to bring forth into this reality. So what we're going to do is break down Chokmah, or wisdom, and the root of wisdom. For the Lord gives wisdom; from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. So when we are studying the Bible, it's very important for you to understand that you are not studying a book about God. You're studying a book about Kabbalah. It's a very esoteric metaphysical concepts in reference to the individual. And why wouldn't it be? You know that there have been over 3,000 gods that people have worshiped throughout time. Is mad gods being worshipped right now. So when we bear witness and reference a particular God, what does that even mean? The specific God is the God within you. So for the Lord is not a God outside of you, it is Yahweh, or Yod, Hey, Vau, Hey, which is a Kabbalistic principle in reference to the God within yourself, gives wisdom, gives Chokmah. From his mouth come knowledge. Knowledge is da'ath, and understanding. Understanding is banah. What this verse is, Proverbs 2:6, is a simple breakdown of the supernal triad and the basic fundamental concepts of Kabbalah. And it's very simple once you begin to understand it. You is not to say that you are God. It is to say God lives within you, and you must find it. You must cultivate it, because your ass is cooked without it. You ain't nobody going to help you more than God is going to help you. If y'all understand that, put a one in the chat. So I want to break this down Kabbalistically and just basically show you. We're reading Proverbs 2:6, but with the concordance. See, this is what the pastors read in order to prophesy to you. And whenever you read a Bible verse, do never take it at face value. Put a one in the chat if you heard what I just said. Never take the Bible at face value. Dig deeper, read a definition, concordance, something, because it's a code in there. Do the numerology, do the gematria, something. Never take it at first value. Create a cipher. Read every fifth word, every seventh word. Read every fifth, then every seventh word. Never look at the Bible at face value. You missing out on too many details. Okay, Proverbs chapter 2, verse 6 reads, "For Yahweh gives wisdom." That is, gives Chokmah. If we were to read this in Hebrew, you would see the words Chokmah, Da'at, or Dath, which means knowledge. In the first video, Path of Self-Realization, one of the keys to this, and that's why I keep bringing up sex, is because sex is the complete mirror to spiritual knowledge. So Da'ath is knowledge through sexual alchemy, through the refining of your sexual urges and desires to what? Spiritual understanding, wisdom. Your sexual proclivities, your sexual desires, the way that you feel you are missing out sexually, the way that you want sex, the way you want a girlfriend, the way you want a boyfriend, the way you're not happy in your relationships are all forms that can be alchemized into a completely different perspective. So a spiritualist is never going to sit in negative energy. A spiritualist is always going to do alchemy until that negative energy becomes a positive energy. Sexual deviation, sexual debauchery is on the negative spectrum, which then alchemized becomes a point of accessing God within yourself. Now, they usually criticize the woman who was a quote unquote hoe, and then she went from a hoe to a religious woman. But we must understand this is a very important part that we must understand. God lives in every person, regardless if they had a bukkake or something real crazy sexually happened to them. God lives within you. No matter if you got feelings of shame, guilt, you did some freaky shit last night, God still lives within you. What are you going to do about cultivating is the true alchemy of the situation. If that makes sense, let me get a one in the chat. We got to get active this morning. We have to understand. And I need to make sure that y'all are understanding. So, we are talking about the tree of life, and we are talking about the different sephiroths and going through each and every sephiroth through each and every section of these videos. There'll be 11-part sections that will be in depth, but it will also be extremely simple. So simple and in depth usually is repetitive, but repetitive isn't to like pull your chain, but it is so it can sink into your subconscious mind so you can begin to understand each and every Sephiroth and then apply this knowledge in your daily life. Each Sephiroth is a level of consciousness. And when we talk about level of consciousness, just imagine it to be a treasure chest, say that 10 times fast. Blah, blah, blah. What the hell's wrong with me? I cannot say that word. Treasure chest within yourself. And if you do not open that treasure chest, you will not get the treasure. So understanding, doing the meditation, working through each Sephiroth through the specific understanding that, okay, Chokmah is wisdom, wisdom that I already have from past lives that come through from Kether. So when you look at Kether, Kether is everything all in one. We cannot differentiate Kether. So in order for Kether to come into existence, it has to split itself into sperm and ovum. And then it's like, damn, the sperm is by itself. I don't got nobody, you know. We all been single, we all been lonely, but then we all had times where we just found somebody and that sperm and that ovum has come into one. Why? Because the sperm and the ovum are one. Put a one in the chat if that makes sense. Each Sephiroth corresponds to a different aspect of the divine, from the most abstract and transcendent to the most material and immanent. As we journey through the Sephiroth, we are exploring the different dimensions of our own being. The process of traversing the tree of life is one of spiritual evolution and alchemical transformation. By understanding the qualities and correspondence of each Sephiroth, we can consciously work to integrate and balance these energies within ourselves. So part of the process of working through the Kaballah is this process that I call Italian dressing. The only way I could explain it, because in Kether, your energy is just sitting there as one, undisturbed, unbothered, undelivered. And then it wants to come into manifest. And then in order for Kether to come into manifest, it's almost like an explosion needs to take place. It's almost like the most craziest shit ever that you can think of. And what was once an ordered bottle of Italian dressing. Like before you use Italian dressing, you got to shake that shit up first. Ones in the chat, if you got to shake that Italian dressing up, pop it open, and then put it over your salad. So the shaking and up, the confusion, the turmoil was necessary for you to enjoy, because you want your flavors to be balanced. So usually wisdom comes out of chaos. It's called character building, trauma, grief. That is when everything is normal. You are not conscious at all. You think you're conscious. You're not conscious until you have to do alchemy. Alchemy does not come from a good place. The need for alchemy doesn't come from a good place. So you could see yourself as all types of things: lazy, devious, deviant, debaucherous, untrustworthy, unreliable, clumsy. You could see yourself as a lot of different things. However, you could also, you shake that Italian dressing up, put it back in the refrigerator. You come back to it in a couple of days. Well, it's back to normal again. So what I'm saying is, each Sephiroth, it gets a little easier through each transition. But from Kether to Chokmah, from the unknowable to wisdom, is a tumultuous experience, to say the least. And I say that all to say, this process of spiritual development, I hope that you feel like it's just beginning. I hope you feel like you just now getting started, because that's how I feel. And what I'm learning is that I'll never know it all, but knowledge that feels new, that feels fresh, it I don't like saying the word blessing, but it feels like a gift to be able to be fresh into some knowledge and to be moved by it, and then to also share it. Because if you are out here looking for something, I guarantee that you are looking for yourself. I guarantee the thing that is going to make you happy, the thing that is going to make your life easier, is yourself. So many people bounce from relationship to relationship, from job to job, to city to city, never finding satisfaction, because the Kabbalah is an inner initiation in reference to your soul. And so if one person, if you just decide, man, I'm gonna do this shit. I'm a initiate to the God within myself, then I've done my job. If you've been looking for a spiritual leader, a guide, some assistance, and you've been looking, you've been spending money, you've been out here searching, 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 hopefully this space and this time brings you some peace and solace to know that the search is over, right? And no matter what you've been together, as I've said, damn, no matter what you've been through, you can still hold yourself together. And so, and I bring this all to everybody's attention, because it's just like this whole entire spiritual development game is a journey. And the point in time where you feel like you have reached a certain type of level, you talking about a job or something. You ain't talking about spiritual development. There is no levels. There's only where you are at in your particular journey. We are at different places, not at different levels. One's in the chat if that makes sense. So we are moving from Kether to Chokmah, where Kether is a point, it is pure potential, but it does not create. So within your visualizations, within your realizations, like you can see it, you can imagine it. Y'all know somebody, you know what I'm saying? They always telling you about an idea. right? They always telling you about some shit that y'all can do together. Some shit like, oh yeah, bro, me and you, we need to da 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 da. You be like, all right, cool. What's the details? Oh, I'm gonna get back to you on that. I'm gonna get back to you on that. That's Kether. It's pure potential, but no action. Now, in reference to that idea that comes from source that you have right now, you right now, everybody in the chat, right at this particular moment, has an idea that will save their life. And you probably even thought it or referenced it before. You probably got a journal. You probably journaled about it. You probably got a Google Doc form with the layout of it right now. Still in transition from Kether to Chokmah. At what point does it become Chokmah? When you put that energy into motion. When you start moving with that idea. When that idea, it moves you to act. And it's like, you might have an idea. Let's just say I'm going to write a book. And you have the idea of what you're going to write a book about. The initiation is what? You write in the actual book from beginning to end and doing the processes of marketing and, you know, uh, going to a bookstore and doing a live reading and things of that nature. This is all Chokmah. But the idea of what it is Kether. What it will become ultimately is Chokmah. And as I stated earlier, you don't get Chokmah without Kether. So what then presents the problem in our modern day society? You're looking at somebody do something and you're thinking, I want to do what that person wants to do. One's in the chat if you ever saw somebody and been inspired. You know that's not real though, because when you look outside of yourself, you are being expired. Inspired is what? When you look within yourself and you find that spirit. Inspiration is Kether to Chokmah. Expiration is when you are on Instagram, when you are on TikTok, when you are on YouTube, and you are saying, oh, they went to Baka Baka Island. I want to go to Baka Baka Island. And now they robbing people at Baka Baka Island. Because they ain't even go to Baka Baka Island. They just said they was in goddamn Key West or some shit. The hardest thing about spiritual development is that you do not understand that the kingdom of heaven is within you. You do not understand that God is within you. And as much as I say it, it's not going to click with the average individual. The average individual, 99.9% of people assume that their wisdom and their guidance is somewhere out there. That's exoteric, which is confusing to esoteric. So I would just say it's expiration. Do you want to be expired or do you want to be inspired? That's the key. This is from Job 28, verse 12. When I say the Bible is nothing but a Kabbalistic book, a Kabbalistic handbook that has been exploited and used for people's personal benefits, to whereas as it stands, it is Hebrew, and Hebrew instructs in the Kaballah. What is the Kaballah? It's how you receive from God. Now, receiving from God is a selfish endeavor, and it ain't going to get you nowhere. So, what do you mean? I thought you said receive from God. You must share what you receive. So, the average person, all my friends on Facebook, Instagram, when shit going bad, hood, can you get me some? Can you help me? When shit going good, I don't see y'all asses. The reality of receiving is the reality of sharing. It go hand in hand. It's a very rough life for a selfish individual. If a person can't understand how to give, if a person is so hurt that they can't accept that there are other people in the world that are in a worse position than they are, they're in a worse position that they'll ever be in, you'll never get it. You'll never understand. Where does understanding dwell? Where does it dwell? In modern America, they'll tell you that the understanding dwells in your university. But where can wisdom be found? And where does understanding dwell? That is a Kabbalistic statement that is forcing the individual to figure it out. In the Bible, this is where people get so fucked up at. We have 4604. People will say in a debate, God created man first. No, the hell he didn't create man first. You read that in a book and you didn't understand that it was talking about the Kaballah. Chokmah is Adam. So Keter created Chokmah first, created the masculine principle first. The first person on earth was a woman. But we are not talking about man or woman. We're talking about inner systems to help you access God. Because in the same Bible, Luke chapter 17, verse 21, it states that God is within you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. But you would have to hear that 1,000 times before it resonates. That's the biggest tragedy in the world. We in America can't walk around and profess namaste to our brothers and sisters because we don't find it within ourselves. If you can't find God within yourself, you ain't going to be able to find it within anybody else. Therefore, everybody is going to be your problem. Job 28, verse 12 explains this perfectly. But nobody is understanding the Bible to be a Gnostic Kabbalistic text. But where can wisdom, Chokmah, be found? Where does Binah, understanding, dwell? Why? Because Chokmah and Binah have to be partners in this particular thing. Job goes on to explain that no mortal comprehends its worth. It cannot be found in the land of the living. Y'all, one's in the chat if you understand what is being stated. 2 in the chat if you need me to explain it a little bit more. If you're looking for a guide, if you're looking for a leader, if you're looking for assistance, if you're looking for help, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask people for these particular things. That's common sense. But at the deep spiritual level where you really need an answer that people cannot help you with, no mortal can comprehend your personal wisdom, your personal understanding. Your wisdom and understanding cannot be found in the land of the living. It cannot be found in the land of the living. So the Bible is never talking about God creating a man first. He created Adam. These are just metaphysical texts to help you understand energetic processes that are utilizing personification to explain their particular point. So when you see this picture, y'all gotta actually believe that this shit really happened. One's in the chat. That's by far the goofiest picture that people would look at as historical. Y'all think this shit really happened? Motherfuckers be on panels and podcasts. Well, you know God created man first, right? This is what these niggas be imagining. That a nigga from the sky with a beard came down and touched the nigga and created him. That is called propaganda. Painting a lie within your mind. The truth is more likened to this. This the real get down. Because it's so inverse and reverse. Because Chokmah and Bana operate as partners, but then you have the anima and the animus that within every masculine is a feminine, and with every feminine is a masculine, and you will see this all play out in the yin and yang, the Tao, Zen, all over the world, all over life. It's a very simple thing that could just be simply understood. It's just that no mortal can comprehend it. And it's not to say that no mortal can comprehend it, but it's like if you would just say like, all right, um, you give me some food, but then you eat it, and then you say, man, that food I gave you, how you like it? And I said, man, that shit tasted good as hell. I enjoyed it. This is what it's like when you deal with spiritual people and they talk at a level like that one dude, B Dale. Like he'll just say a bunch of words. And it remind me of Jay-Z and the Blueprint 2, where he say, um, just because you don't understand him, don't mean that he nice. God is not complicated. It's not in reference to who's the smartest, because that is a con game. You know, at the end of the day, it's a capitalistic society, and people going to do what they going to want to do. But when it comes to spiritual development, this is something that these are all things that I'm laying out that already exist. The understanding and the wisdom behind it is where we mess up at. So, exactly. So, what we are dealing with is a form of androgyny in Kether, right? It has no form, but in order for it to self realize, in order for it to be what it wants to be, it has to then create these forms of duality. Within the spiritual community, people would then say, oh, I hate duality. I can't stand duality. Duality get on my nerves. Within the spiritual community, the actual processes of working with said energy becomes too much and it's something that they don't want to deal with. So the simplicity of it is dealing with masculine being a positive energy and feminine being a negative energy, not in male or female, but positive and negative energies work in reference to sexual polarities. Still not male and female, because as we know in this modern society, we can bear witness that you don't have to be a male and a female to be in a relationship. However, the modality of sex still operates on a positive and negative polarity. I know that was a lot, but one's in the chat if that makes sense. The masculine force, which represents Chokmah, is dynamic, it's initiating, and it's expansive. The feminine force, Bana, is form giving, containing, and stabilizing. So, what form does is it gives it a container, it gives it a stopping point, it gives it a limit. That's why Saturn rules Bana, the limit, the vessel. When most people will look at a limit as a negative thing, that's like, a house is a limiting structure. But we look at the housing market right now and we like, damn, I wish I had one. Right? We need these limits because otherwise our energy is just free to roam. Our energy cannot be even seen or understood. So Chokmah operates a lot like Kether in its ignorance of self. When we promote a positive energy society, we have a bunch of people that say, I want a nice house, I want a nice car, I want this, I want that, I want this. And then once they get to 30, they say, I got all of this, I got all of that. But now I really wish I would have not did that. I wish I would have prioritized having a relationship or a husband. Why do you want a relationship or a husband now when you could have been wanting it the whole entire time? Because you were fed positive energy. Positive energy is Chokmah, and it is a thirst for power. Uh, it makes a lot of sense to want a bigger house. It makes a lot of sense to go to college, get a PhD, um, get a nice ass house, nice ass car, do all of these things. But then there's also the feminine polarity, which exemplifies limitless creation, love, peace, creativity, compassion. People do not even have the point of reference to even do these particular things at a high level. So, male represents positive aspects. In reference to the tree of life, they have the negative gene within them. Limitless creation, love, peace, creativity, compassion, female energy has a negative connotation, but in fact, in reference to the soul, is a positive thing. The middle path is in understanding, people will say, well, I'm not a left path nigga. I'm not a right path nigga. I'm a middle path nigga. No, you got a left hand and a right hand. You got a chakra system. You got all of these things playing at once. You got all of these pillars at the same time. The issue with this society is that they're not forcing balance. They're forcing one side or the other. So therefore, a person is just super dominant in one area or the other area, and then therefore the tree of life, it is not it. You can't work through the tree of life being in one area. You must understand balance. And you must understand that progress is balance. And the easier you understand that progress is balance, the ways for which you begin to live through that balance is the way that you understand it. So whatever you're doing, you're seeking to find balance is the thing. So it's like if it's something that you need to do and something that you want to do, you do what you need to do and then you do what you want to do. You don't just say, all right, I'm gonna do what I want to do and fuck what I need to do, nor do you say I'm gonna do what I need to do and fuck what I want to do, because what is that? Out of balance. So then what is depression, sadness? It is when you are doing what you want to do and never doing what you need to do. And then what you need to do catches up to you. Now you depressed, now you sad, now you mad, now you angry. You wouldn't have been sad, depressed, angry if you had did what you need to do in reference to what you wanted to do, and vice versa. So we can't look at this thing like at least he got his money, at least he this, at least he that. No, you have to be balanced in force and form. You need to be balanced in Chokmah. You need to be balanced in Bana. In reference to creation, you don't just say, "Oh, he got his money together," and they've been conning people with that, where women will be working for a law firm, right? And she'll be 34, 32, or even 28 or something to that she'll be like, I want to have kids. I'm about to quit this law firm. The law firm like, no, don't do that. We'll freeze your eggs. We'll pay for it. Right? She'd be like, all right, 42 come around. She go back to those frozen eggs. That shit don't work. And spent $20,000, $50,000 on some shit just to be thinking that your balance don't matter. And oh, you got money, it'll work itself out. That is not spiritual development. One second. So we are referencing the magician. And this is something that I should have talked about a little bit more in the Kether episode, but I'll just reference it here, and maybe I'll do like a standalone video in reference to the fool in Kether, which is pure potential. It is whatever it may be, right? The magician, which aligns with Chokmah, which is the one who channels and facilitates and processes the all of the pure potential. And so the magician is doing magic. And how does the magician do magic? It does it through cultivating Kether within itself. So within like we all had that period of time where we wanted to do a spell so bad. We online, like, how do you do a love spell? How do you do a money spell? And we like, all right, gotta gather peppermint, 5 circles, and spin around 15 times and say this chant 1,000 times or some shit like that, and nothing happened. But then we'll get an idea within ourselves. Yesterday I just put 4 potatoes. We had extra potatoes and extra mushrooms, so I just made an ancestral plate with that. I'm not like wasting it, and I'm doing alchemy. I'm not just going to throw it away like, oh, we got extra food. No, I'm just going to. Everything is spiritual. Everything. If I got extra food or like leftovers, we'll make a plate for the ancestors, because that's what that represents for us. And so another person be like, you putting out a plate of food for nobody, but it's within us. The understanding is within us, so it looks crazy to people. Everything that we do spiritually in reference to like burning herbs or um, spiritual plates or offerings are just channeling energy within us. And that is the magician, the one who is willing to do what they see within themselves and cultivate that, utilizing the 4 elements, utilizing, the celestial, utilizing the mycology, right? As above, so below. These are real things. These are not things that can just be applied to whatever you feel like applying to. It's pretty much literally right there in front of you. But it comes to a point where people then look at spiritual knowledge as I can just wing it, and then therefore it sound good and feel good, but you're not able to communicate or teach. Everybody just wing it. Everybody just hold your fingers and keep your fingers crossed. So when we reference the supernal triad, we're also referencing something that's very scientific, and it is called the genital tubercle. It is a structure present in early embryonic development that gives rise to both male and female external genitalia. It's a key component in the process of sexual differentiation, initially appearing similar in both sexes before undergoing specific developmental changes. This is why I say you're never going to study the Kaballah and be out on a limb like, I don't know what this shit is talking about. This shit is confusing. No, it's not confusing. In reference to the human, you got a penis and a vagina at the same time. It develops into what it's going to be at the time of birth, but at 10 weeks, a boy have a penis and a vagina. At 10 weeks, a girl have a penis and a vagina. This is specifically Kether, Chokmah, and Banah. At the inception of your reality, at the inception of your magic, the ways for which you bring it into existence is through a balance. In this balance, it almost seemed like, damn, I'm giving up what I truly want, but it's like a it's like a sifting process. It's like a like we talked about in the full moon episode, a winnowing process. You have to shake it down to it get to what it's really supposed to be. But at this stage of development of your idea, it is not to fixate and focus on specific of what you want, but to be in the balance of what you want. What do you need to do? What are you going to do? And what are you not going to do? Because that is Bana. Bana is the limit of we're only doing this and we're not doing that. Chokmah is we are doing something. We're doing anything. So if you're doing anything, that's a scary sight. Versus we're doing something specific. Oh, that's cool. I understand that. So then when the baby is 10 weeks or the fetus is 10 weeks and have a penis and a vagina, you don't know what you about to have. uh uh but then when you go for that ultrasound in 26 weeks, the doctor like, oh yeah, you having a boy. You having a girl. Okay, I know what that is. So Chokmah, in essence, is the phallus, is the penis, is the magician. On the left side, we have the Rider Waite magician deck. And it explains it very clearly in if you understand symbology. One of the symbols is Mercury. And the thing about Mercury, Mercury is movement, Mercury is communication. So Mercury is going to be present in every Sephiroth, but it is exemplified and exalted within the Sephiroth, but not Mercury within itself. The highest exaltation of Mercury would be that of Uranus. And on the Rider Waite deck, it has all of the elements carefully placed on a table. And Thoth Tarot, all of that shit is thrown in the table. Why? Because you have ascended past the needing of the elements. You have everything that you need is within you. This is why he appears naked. It is a form of understanding inner energy and kundalini, because at the top of his head is the kundalini snakes, which are tied into Mercury, which are tied into the conduces, which are tied into healing, which are tied into alchemy. And at the very top of the card, you will see the dove pointed down. Why? Because everything that comes up must go down. So this is a evolution. This is an ever evolving process of spirituality, which is the magician. It's a constant movement of air energy, mental energy in the space of what? That's when you get into Bana. That's when you get into the Empress, and we'll be talking about that in our next conversation when we reference Bana. Here is the Milo Manara erotic tarot deck where is shown a woman making a man as a form or making a masculine entity, i.e. Adam, or i.e. a robot or AI, artificial intelligence, to do what she wants it to do. Because the symbology of Chokmah is a phallus, but a phallus is not in reference to sex, it's in reference to function. So, as I stated, the symbol that is assigned to Chokmah is the phallus or the lingam, which is basically the ability to exhort spiritual force through physical action. So earlier I referenced the anima and the animus, meaning that the masculine force is not mastered by the masculine man. Milo Manara shows us that the masculine force is mastered by the feminine, while vice versa, on the feminine force is mastered by the masculine. This is balance. This is why submission becomes a powerful modality to exercise in your relationship. Balance, though. The masculine submits to the feminine, and the feminine submits to the masculine as a way of mastering the whole entire planet. Because once again, we do not know everything. We must learn. What is our true knowledge? Our true knowledge is through sex. The ability to meditate through the process of sex, which has begun to, which why it is now like this gross debaucherous thing. It is throwing humans all the way off because we have removed all spirituality away from sex. Sex is just something you're doing with your boyfriend or your girlfriend now. And then when that relationship is over, you having sex with somebody else. When that relationship over, you having sex with somebody else. It is not a spiritual force that's helping you understand things. It's just something you doing to get your rocks off. This is the difference between the phallus and the lingam and the cock. See, the cock or the penis is reacting to it being horny. The phallus or the lingam, which is a spiritual idea, is about understanding how you're going to project yourself in this world. So, very clearly, when a woman knows what she wants, specifically, she is now a master in that particular modality. The right hand path is a feminine path. Chokmah is ruled by the woman, but the woman thinks that she's a woman, therefore she has to deal with everything feminine. But that puts her in a double negative. Therefore, damsel in distress ideologies, needing help, needing protection, needing providing. Then you got a whole bunch of other people that exist in a completely different lane because they might understand this masculine force or masculine energy. But the key to it all, in reference to women and Chokmah, is clarity. You must be clear on what you want and then understand that you have divine feminine power, the power of Medusa to turn a man into a stone. This becomes to be the power of polarity, whereas there is an insatiable nature to Bana and feminine energy to just say, I want everything. But the balance of it all is understanding the structure and the form and the limit of what you specifically want. And then the magician that is bringing it into existence through work, not the work that you have to fill out an application for, but through spiritual work, through the burning of herbs, through the drinking of tea, through the yoga, through the connection to the kingdom of heaven, through the internal processes, which this particular regime of Western understanding and propaganda prioritizing women what? To look outside of themselves for what they truly want. So the lesson in here is learning how to redirect your energy inward, and that is a hard thing because it's boring, it's not fun, and it's not luxurious. It's not going to get you a lot of likes and a lot of views and a lot of attention. It is very excruciating a lot of times. It's very boring. It's very much of like you not wanting to do it. So therefore, if you don't feel like doing it, you're not going to do it. But understanding how to utilize the phallus or how to utilize the lingam, you meditate on said objects, such as the phallus, such as the lingam, right? And it's not a sexual thing, it is an energetic thing. As you begin to meditate on this particular shape, Egyptians did it, Hindus did it, Nordic people did it. It is the obelisk in Washington, D.C. It is a phallic shape of worship. Egypt worshiped the god Men. So, what are we utilizing these phallic shapes for? As a form of Chokmah, as a form of symbolism that then will help you understand how to manifest things in real life. But I can't just simply discuss sexual alchemy without giving you some Gnostic text, because this is Gnostic Kaballah, where we are combining the knowledge of how to receive from God, but also how to share what you receive from God on a daily basis. We are taken from the Gnostic text, Gospel of Philip. That's been my favorite book as of late. A lot of jewels in there. I'm going to be reading verse 67, 64, and 66 and breaking each one of these verses down in the concept of utilizing sexual symbology as a form of activation of the Chokmah and Bana Sephiroth, which is a sexual polarity. Sexual polarity and that they create life. So when you combine function and form within your meditation, when you combine yoni and phallus within your meditation, you are utilizing the exact principle and mechanism to create. The same way as you combine sperm and ovum, you are combining the correct principle to create. It's a very easy process. You just probably never meditated on phallus and yonis before, but give it a try. It's very alchemical and very ancient, as you will see. The Lord did everything in a mystery: a baptism and the chrism and the Eucharist and the redemption and the bridal chamber. When we talk about a bridal chamber, that is Bana and Chokmah coming together within your meditation. See, a baptism is a spiritual thing, a chrism is a spiritual thing, a Eucharist is a spiritual thing, and the redemption is a spiritual thing, such as is a bridal chamber. But a bridal chamber is specific to a place where a bride and a husband consummate their relationship. We are not talking about physical things, we are talking about spiritual things. What is the result of said combination of bridal chamber? Well, Gospel of Philip goes on to say, the powers do not see those who are clothed in the perfect light. What does that also mean? The archons do not see those who are clothed in perfect light, and consequently, they're not able to detain them. One will close himself in this light sacramentally in the union. So ultimately, this can be a physical thing, but it can't be a physical thing because, in reference to working with God, you might not have a girlfriend, you might not have a boyfriend. What you going to do? Force somebody to have a sex magic ritual with you? Hey, I need you to come over and have this sex magic with me. I'm doing some Gnostic Kaballah shit off Hood Shadow. Just come through. Say less, say less, say less. I was watching that same video. It ain't gonna work like that. In reference to sacramentally unionizing yourself, these are all inner processes. To be clothed in the perfect light is to go enter into the bridal chamber, is to unify your masculine and feminine energy through the modality of sexual alchemy. So the soul of Adam came into being by means of breath. His soul was replaced by a spirit. When he was united to the spirit, he spoke words incomprehensible to the archons. When people try me in real life and they hear how much I know, it's like their eyes become black. They like, if they was red in the face, they instantly become pale, because the work that I've done when nobody was looking, and the work that I've shared, not a point to brag, but I need some form of record to show that I'm very serious about spiritual knowledge and spiritual information. I need some form of a record, so when did I start talking and people want to do some investigation, they see, oh, this nigga was for real about it. He wasn't one of those people that didn't believe in himself. He wasn't one of those people that didn't understand what was taking place. The point of it all is to unite within the spirit within yourself and therefore you speak words incomprehensible to the archons, incomprehensible to those that are posed against you. So the soul of Adam is Chokmah, which came into beings of a breath, which is uh I don't want to mispronounce it. I'll just look it up because so is Neshima, which is the breath, which could be another form of Kether, which is the androgynous masculine and feminine energy, right? That is being replaced by a spirit, which so that spirit is Chokmah. When he was united to the spirit, he spoke words incomprehensible, which are the same as saying being clothed in a perfect light, which is the same way that we are utilizing this particular energy to unite ourselves spiritually and therefore speak the things that we need to speak and live the way that we need to live, because there is a point in time where people start talking about racism, poverty, your landlord, your baby mama, everybody being against you. And what are you going to do about it? I was talking about somebody yesterday. I was like, what you want me to do? Beat her ass, choke her out? Like, that's not the way that this shit is going to play out. So therefore, I was just in Psalms, in my candles, in my herbs, in my meditation, finding peace within myself, uniting to the spirit within myself, and just allowing things to play out. Serious question. What could losing a left testicle? That is not a serious question. Unless you want to do your due diligence on Uranus and Saturn. So in ancient times, we have the concept of Yab Yum representing the father and the mother unified through sexual bliss. Now, this is sacred union. Now, this is the process of spiritual development. This is something that takes place within you. And this is the ultimate love of self, the love of God, the love of energy, the love of consciousness. This is the deepest love that you could ever find, because this is the love that always gives to you, right? We tend to love somebody more than we love ourselves and find ourselves in a trick bag. One's in the chat if you ever love somebody more than yourself and you found yourself in a bad situation because this particular polarity existed. So we are finding balance in anything. The deepest love for yourself translates to what? The deepest love for your wife, the deepest love for your children, the deepest love for your husband, the deepest love for your job, the deepest love for your society, the deepest love for your life. It starts from the inside out. But yeah, little alarm went off. So before I go on, this is not an exoteric symbolism. This is a esoteric symbolism. The love between mother and father is the love between Chokmah and Benah. These are the processes within you that you begin to cultivate within yourself, that then begin to, and it gets more interesting when we get to the different sephiros, because they become more relatable and more understandable. These concepts that I'm laying out are the highest concepts, the hardest concepts for a person to begin to understand. But the Kabbalah starts hard and ends hard. So that's just life, right? Thought I was going to say easy, didn't you? So, what are we talking about? We are talking about the right hand path of Chokmah, which is connected to Keter. but is ultimately balanced by Binah. So in the next week, we'll talk about Binah. There'll be an article, and you can get all of these downloads, all of this information on my Substack. To read the full articles, though, you must become a member of my Substack, a premium member, which is $5 a month, or you can pay for the whole year, 55, so you don't have to worry about it. So how does energy transmit through the Kabbalah? Well, it comes from the Ein Sof Or into Kether, where it exists as pure potential, i.e., the information of our past lives and future lives, and it begins to descend into the different Sephiroths, i.e., Banah, Chokmah, Netzach, so forth, and so on. In earlier talks, maybe years and years ago, this was around my Watchmen era, we used to talk about zig, zag, zig. And this particular process exemplifies this zigzag and zig. And as we begin to talk about each and every Sephiroth, what you will understand is that every Sephiroth's delineation is a buildup of previous zigs and previous zags. So the deepest message that I want to deliver to you guys is the reality that all creation begins as an emanation from the divine mind. From the subtle to the dense, we are dealing with the subtle, the spiritual concepts. But as we are consistent on these particular processes, when it manifests into the dense, it'll be so understandable and it'll be so graspable. It'll just be a part of our repertoire, right? The knowledge that all creation begins as an emanation from the divine mind is something that you want to hold on to, because this shit is looking tricky out here, right? The tree unfolds and spirit descends into matter. What are we also saying? That everything physical first started as a spiritual principle. One's in the chat if you ever heard that before. And what I'm just going to show you and explain is that energy, in reference to Kabbalah, in reference to Chokmah, is just an ascension and a descension of energy, but through this same pattern of zigging and zagging. And when you look at Kundalini, you have a right side and a left side, but these right sides interlock and link at specific chakras. But this is the same as a zigzag pattern. So this symbol is also used for medical hospitals. Why? Because what is healing? Healing is the raising and the descending of your Kundalini energy within your body, because no mortal understands how a scab heals itself. That's a form of alien technology. Because if you break this cup don't magically just start healing itself. You got to have God in you to be able to do that. A cup don't have God in it. A cup was made by a human, and at a certain point, it was a point in time in this particular level where in my mind I can break my cup and the cup just magically heal itself. But the more dense it comes into matter, the less that's actually going to happen. So understanding the modality of spirituality, where it is something that is like very flexible, very restorative, but then in reality, something happened down here. It's a little bit more tricky. It's like, but like your body is very interesting, right? I've had a couple of scabs over this past couple of weeks. Them joints healed up completely. That is the power of your spirit and spiritual development. That's the power of energy activated and working through you at a high level. And one of the main points of Gnostic Kabbalah is that it's not a different science. It's the same science. It's connected to every science you name. Any science you bring me that has any type of correct functioning and formula associated with it, we can lie it right upon the Kabbalah, down to mathematics, English, grammar, science. It's all Kabbalistic principles. You do not get life without the Kabbalistic principle. It just doesn't come naturally. So then understand it in reference to what you are attempting to manifest. It's not about to fall out the sky, but it can happen when you do balance the energies in reference to what needs to be balanced. I got this idea, but I don't have the money. Balance is getting the money. And then when you get the money, balance is not going to the movie theater, but investing in that idea. Balance is continuing to build upon that through each and every Sephiroth in reference to what is called and what is needed in each and every Sephiroth. So when we are understanding our energy is balanced down to the very core. We have two nervous systems. Well, I'm sorry, we have one nervous system, but it's divided into two main parts. We are talking about Kabbalah. That is the supernal triad, Kether, Chokmah, and Banah. So when we get into the nervous system, what part of the nervous system is Chokmah? That would be what is called the the sympathetic system. Sorry. The sympathetic nervous system is a crucial part of your body's autonomic nervous system responsible for fight or flight response. It's activated during stress or perceived danger, preparing your body for action by increasing heart rate, breathing, and alertness while slowing down non essential functions like digestion. This is a crucial system, but our society overemphasizes the sympathetic nervous system. Then, when it comes to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a system that is responsible for rest and digest, we don't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? The parasympathetic system counteracts the fight or flight response, promoting relaxing and conserving energy and maintaining homeostasis. So when we are trying to balance Chokmah and Banah, it is action and resting. It is giving and receiving in balance. This society have promoted um where people are just like, I just want to have, I just want to get, I just want it, I just want. And then it's like, all right, what you gonna give? I don't have nothing to give. So that begins to be the main problem. So one of the more difficult concepts to wrap our mind around in reference to the Kabbalah are the four worlds. But the four worlds are very simple to understand when you begin to understand them and begin to incorporate more balance into this particular process. So balancing, so chokma would be physical, and physical would be asaya. And I'm hoping that I ordered these correctly. Uh, let me just get it off Google so I don't want to give out four worlds of Kabbalah and meaning. So I thought I had them organized, but I can't be sure. So absolute is the emanation. This is the closest to the divine source. So absolute is spiritual. So chokma and absolute is spiritual action. Chokma and Baria, which is creation, is action and form of creation. So it's like everything has a different action, but as a loop would be meditation. Berea would be that of like making your t-shirts or making the designs that you see in meditation. You are acting out Chokmah wisdom in each and every world. So that of formation. This is the world of emotions and feelings. So after you have created your pot, you look at it and you love it. That is like when you are feeling something, like the act of feeling is chokma, chokma in yetara, where you are able to feel, because to feel is an action. So another way of explaining Chokmah and Mercury and Sephiroths, in every single Sephiroth is Chokmah, because Chokmah is what is needed in every Sephiroth, which is action. Chokmah is what is needed in every world, which is action. So Asaya is action. This is the material, physical world of action. Everything that we see in our world is a result of action. That of spiritual, that of emotional, that of creation. The trees is a form of like natural action. The dogs, the cats, the insects, the plants, everything is action, right? Action, action, action. But therefore, this is where we utilize the concept of bana to then add form to say action. So balance and action are the lessons of Chokmah. And corresponding to each of the four worlds is something that we'll be able to look at deeper into the different sephiroths, where we can like break down each and every sephiroth, which is a concept in each and every of these worlds, which is a setting or a condition. So in each and every world, the action or the principle, which is the sephiroth, is going to act different. The same way as like you're going to dress different in the wintertime versus you dressing different when it's raining. In each world, you must act accordingly, but understanding these worlds might be an additional side quest, because we have to be like, I'm planning on just dealing with the Kabbalah extensively over these next coming years, where right now we're dealing with the Sephiroths, but I want to deal with the Hebrew letters. I want to, because a lot of times I see like, oh, this is path 22, and I don't know what the hell that's talking about. So I just want to get deeper into it. So with all of that being said, we'll get deeper into the worlds as needed. But ultimately, when you're dealing with your particular energy, which the tree of life is, your energy is balanced through masculine, feminine, active, and rest, consciousness and subconsciousness, night and day. In in Hindu esoterics, it is the Pingala and the Ida Nadi, which is just energy streams. And the Shushumni is the middle path. And Ida, Pingali, and Shushumna is not a distant concept from Kundalini or a distant concept from the tree of life. These are all one and the same. And to understand these concepts and to apply these concepts, make your life that much more easier and that much more simpler. And the question is, well, why is that so? Because God lives within you. And the more you get closer to God within yourself, that God doesn't say, all right, now I'm about to make your life exponentially harder now that you're getting closer to me. It don't work like that. The reason that you may be struggling is because you are far away from God, which might be in a big ass house, in a nice ass car, in a toxic ass relationship, or in a draining ass job, because you don't even understand who you are based upon Kether, based upon who you are in a past life or who you will be in a future life. So just to summarize and bring it into um uh full wraps, let me know how y'all felt about this. Let me know if y'all understood the message. So today we were discussing Chokmah, the divine masculine physical principle that represent action. That action does not exist within itself. That action is not based upon what other people are doing or what other people have or what other people tell you to do. This action of Chokmah, which is wisdom, comes from Kether, which comes from and the potential doesn't come from nothing. The potential comes from Ein Sof or Ein Sof Or, which is the limitless light that exists in the whole entire universe that us as human beings have access to. Then the question goes, well, how do you know that human beings have access to the Ein Sof Or? Because you don't see dogs building cities. You don't see bears, building transportation systems. You don't see monkeys, establishing homes and things of that nature, building airplanes. The human being have a specific knowledge and a specific wisdom that is extraterrestrial, and that is what we call Ein Sof Or. Now, what is shrouded in mystery is those secret societies and things of that nature that act like you need to be, you need to inherit some shit, you need to have a lot of money to do some shit. And the reality is that you just need to have a base understanding of how this shit works and then apply it. So I hope that one begins to apply the knowledge of Kether, the knowledge of Ein Sof Or, and then begin to act in alignment with the fact of what? The kingdom of heaven is within you. You never seen a cat with a cell phone. Never seen a cat like, yo, I'm about to call my man up. The triangle is a the triangle does not relate to the Trinity. However, the Trinity relates to the triangle. It's like what came first, the chicken or the egg? When we reference Christian mythology, that's a late in the game study that is being used to control and manipulate people. Christian is just nothing but the Roman Empire's spiritual development class. And what have Romans did? They seized empires and steal their information. Christians in the Vatican is just a spinoff of the Holy Roman Empire. So therefore, when you talk about where this knowledge comes from, it comes from the Kabbalistic tree of life and the Jewish and Hebrew scholars that really educated the whole entire planet and gave people their schemes and schematics, to which they had to do it because without it, me and you wouldn't even be able to bear witness on this knowledge, because we will look at it and say, this reminds me of the Trinity. And we have been inundated with the Trinity. We have been, deluged with Trinity concepts. But when we reference the supernal triangle, it's like, what's that? See, within the Trinity, it's not telling you that the limitless light and Kether and Chokmah and Binah are principles that exist within you. The doctrine of the Trinity that have been created at the Nicene Creed was a specific mind control psyop to get God to be one, a white man, and two, outside of the human body. And they utilized the same principles and the same concepts, but they gave you wrong information. So what does wrong information do? It creates empires. How does it create empires? By teaching mass people that God exists within a power structure, But I'm going to tell you this: God exists within a function, within a mechanism. I was sitting doing root locks and I was just thinking how I wasn't like on nothing crazy, but I was just thinking like when I was a little kid, I should have been doing root locks instead of watching porn. Like, you gonna satisfy your energy, you gonna have like a strong pelvic floor, and when you get ready to make love, your pelvic floor gonna be so strong. It's like, damn, you increase your sensation of sex tenfold just by doing root locks. And I'm only mentioning that because you don't need nothing to do a root lock. You don't need to spend money to do a root lock. You don't need to go to Acapulco to do a root lock. You can lay in your bed, drive in your car, work out. I've been doing this live doing root locks. You know what I'm saying? It's just something that I do. And that is to stop the energy leaks and keep your energy and build your energy up so you can begin to even perceive of Kether, but not in Chokmah, which then give you access to the limitless light that the universe that we just exist in is all around us. Now, how do we access it? Do we access it by going into goddamn Columbia Records? Like, hey, can I get a record deal? Or do we access it by going into Kether, getting that idea, recording that song, shooting video content for it, and then a rep from Columbia saying, hey, we want to sign you to a record contract? That's how it works. So we're building on this particular series. This is part 3 of an 11-part series. Taking my time with it, diving deep. But of course, if you want to get into the actual text with like the textual basis, the reason that these videos take so long is because I study, I write, I rewrite, and then I just put the presentation together. And it's not something that I do overnight. It's something that, I work on daily to understand it, to get clear so I could, deliver it to y'all so y'all can understand it, so y'all can apply it. And if y'all ever apply this stuff and it benefits y'all, be sure to help someone else. KY, because the tree of life is a foundational system that provides structure and a step by step method for manifestation utilizing spiritual practices. Your very existence, sperm, ovum, and all your creations, idea, action, follow the same process of moving from potential to embodiment. Now, if we are strong enough to work with the tree of life, that means that we are also strong enough to understand each Sephirah as a principle to embody. The principle of Chokmah is action. Wisdom is action. So, what does that mean in a normal human lexicon? Niggas got to be motivated to act. Right? Niggas got to be, at a not even inspired, because inspiration, action is wisdom. I would even break that down into a formula. What is wisdom? Wisdom is inspiration and action in tandem. Because to be inspired to do something but to not act is a form of spiritual immaturity. You should get to a point where every time your spirit to tell you to do something, you just do it without question. But understand, we talking about positive things. Some of y'all be having them negative thoughts. You say, Hood, you say as soon as my spirit gave me a thought, I just went with it, so I just slashed his tires out. And you said to play a song that played in my mind, so Jasmine Sullivan bust his windows out his car was playing, so I just figured it was a sign, Hood. I mean, the tires was already slashed, so I bust his windows out his car. Ain't that from spirit? No, that's not from spirit. That's from the ego, right? Because we're about, so negative is a negative feeling, but positive is how you're supposed to balance that negative feeling out. Now we're still in the modern world, and you will have this negative feeling. You will have this negative feeling, and then the modern world will say, all right, keep giving them negative stimuli. And then your therapist, like, you know what I'm saying, you got ADHD. Now every time you go there, you like, you got ADHD, you got ADHD. Nigga, you be by the time you turn 40, you be shaking people's hands like, "Hi, my name is ADHD." Because our society is going to prioritize one or the other, positive over negative. What is the reality? You got to be positive and negative. That is balance. You have to be inspired, you have to act, and you also have to say, I can't do this shit with y'all niggas. So what's the problem? You got a business idea, but you know your friends call you every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to go out. But in your soul, you know that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is your only days off. So you either gonna go out with these niggas or work on your side hustle. But when you decide to go work on your side hustle, balance is knowing that they're not about to be your friends. Because your true friends is going to what? Work with you. Because what's going to happen? After you stop working, after you stop hanging out with the people that you're going out with, you're going to find people that's willing to do business shit with you. You're going to find people that's willing to purchase from you. Once you start that business, you're going to have 10,000 customers. Your life is going to change. Why? Because you understood balance, you understood manifestation, you understood this shit, and you didn't. Because so many times people say, all right, you're just going to sign up to this course and it's just going to be positive. But then when the negative come, you ain't prepared for it. And it's cool to have the course, but tell a nigga, it's about to be 2 years before you make some money, my boy. You're going to have to work 2 years before you make some money. And that's natural because back in the day, before you had to become a master craftsman, you had to spend 7 years being an apprentice, and you wasn't getting paid being an apprentice up until you probably 8, so you didn't die. Them niggas give you a sandwich in a room for 7 years, and all you got to do is learn. That's a negative. But what's the positive? After 7 years, you become a master, and you could do what you want to do. That's what life is going to give you. I want a baby. All right. You're not going to get a baby tomorrow, nigga. It's going to be a whole 9-month process. And the crazy part, when the baby come, they ain't even going to talk to your ass for another 2 years. They were looking at your ass like, look at this nigga. So I mean, you wanted a baby so bad, that nigga even start talking to you today was 2.5. That whole time, it'd be so crazy. My kids older and they be talking, and I still be like reflecting on that, how I'll be like traumatized. I guess it's a trauma response when they was little babies, and I wanted to have these conversations with them, but they'd be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yo, this is bizarre. You just start loving their ass just because they exist. You know what I'm saying? That's the first time you really had true love. You loving this motherfucker. They ain't even talking to your ass. And they pissing on you when you changing their diaper. You like, wait a second. See, nobody told you the negative side of having a kid. They gonna piss on your ass. Listen, they diaper not gonna be wet, or they gonna be wet a little bit. You go to change that motherfucker as soon as you lift this part. That nigga about to piss on your shit. He gonna piss all up in your face and your mouth. Nobody told you that about being a dad. That's you love that baby, especially if you have a boy. I don't know about a girl. I don't change girls' diapers, but changing my son's diapers, boy, every single one pissed on me at least once. So it's literally rite of passage, right? So mastery is not oh, this nigga had it all figured out since he was kid. He inherited from his dad, and he had $1 million mansion. He was a cool nigga. He donated to the homeless, man. He had it figured out from the start. He put it out from the start. Like he was just, had it figured. No. What we're talking about is a process of not knowing, learning, understanding, and applying. So you're supposed to not know. You're supposed to look at this information that I presented to y'all over this past 2 hours and say, damn, this nigga Hood presented information that I ain't never even heard before. I need to learn. I need to get on my shit because this shit out here that I don't know. Because we came up in a conscious information where as long as we heard every Bobby Hemmett lecture, every Panic lecture, every Phil Valentine lecture, we basically knew everything. And in reference to the people that's teaching Kabbalah, I promise you, it just was confusing. So once again, it's a lot to learn, it's a lot to know, and that should, inspire you, right? And in closing, Chokmah and Binah, they need to be honored together. So within that understanding, it's going to be a quick turnaround between Chokmah and Binah. And in reference to talking about Binah, we'll reference Chokmah, but we'll focus more on Binah in the next video, in the next article. But we also must understand that one is incomplete without the other. Damn, got the hiccups all of a sudden. But just wanted to show y'all the article. Link is in the description. A lot of like this video, even though it's 2 hours, it's much more beneficial if you read this article and take notes, right? You can use this as a backdrop, as a background. Like when I talked about symbolic sex, I get into it a little bit more on here. So hearing this, if you heard this whole video, reading this article is going to click for you. The dots is going to connect. And I just based this slideshow off the article, so I'm not going too far left. I just used the video to just kind of free talk, just kind of like, let out some air a little bit. But yeah, all of the articles is on the Substack, and it felt like I scrolled down for like an hour. You feel me? So it's a lot of information. So don't expect to just grasp it super easy. Um, I just put out an information about psychedelics. Make sure y'all read that. It's titled Music as Therapy. Make sure you check out the White Rabbit, man. We got articles galore on here. Um, Search function, very key. So you could just like think of something in reference to an ideal. I don't know, just look up Venus or some shit, and you will see all the different articles and stuff about Venus, a very popular topic. Blue magic. I'm working on a blue magic article that's coming this week. You know what I'm saying? Got a whole bunch of articles talking about money magic, magic in general. You feel me? So you can type magic. We got a sex magic article, sigil magic article, banishing magic, blue magic, of course. You already know. Check that out. Check that out. And also, man, can't leave without shouting out the standard in psychedelic experiences and concepts, working on a ministerial component of White Rabbit Psychedelics, where we'll be holding weekly classes or weekly sermons, because just want to convert the whole concept of White Rabbit Psychedelics, which is a community-based platform, into a more ministerial-based platform. So be patient as we transition, but also thank you for all y'all support. If y'all want to support, visit whiterabbitpsych.com, check out our products. I just put out, I just told y'all, I just put out an article called Music is Therapy. It's also going to be on there, but I want to create a nice, healthy blog space on White Rabbit Psychedelics with a lot of resources that people can read upon to understand psychedelics, in reference to it's not so bad if you have a particular protocol. But yeah. And finally, man, if y'all got any love in your heart or any extra dollars in y'all bank account, please load up Hood Mystic $ or $ Hood Mystic 38. If you got $1, $2, $20, or $2 million, man, hit me up, $Hood Mystic 38. It would be a tax write-off, and that money would be going to a good cause. You saying you got an extra 2 million, man. Don't forget about your boy. Um, but without that being said, man, I hope that y'all enjoyed this transmission and understanding and wisdom, right? We talked about Chokmah, and this has been a Gnostic Kabbalistic episode. Uh, if y'all want to get deeper into it, be sure to join the Discord. We can talk about more things in reference to this. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Yeah. Join the Discord, hit me up, DM me, ask me a question, email me, hoodmystic@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at the Hood Mystic, man. Other than that, hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank y'all for listening, liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good shit. With all that being said, I will catch y'all all on the flip side. Peace.
You are now tapped in with Hood in the Morning. Call in now.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. See, if that's not the realest shit in the world.